Hey, my bright stars. This is Tenor Skate, and I'm 10, your host. So I did some shifts around. Like, I am in the process of rebranding, or to go backwards in time branding. A lot of what you're going to see overall is just being kind of more closer to who I really am, and just doing things how I feel like I should do to make my life and your lives more functional. I don't even know how to express it properly, but we will. I'll give you a prime example of. I'm really sorry that I have no consistency on this channel. I've been going through a lot of just diving back into my spirituality, and one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about was kind of working with yourself and understanding yourself better. I've been rereading a book on the myth of freedom by Chögyam something. I'm really horrible with names and pronouncing them correctly, so I apologize. But it's a really good book. I've had it for about maybe a decade and just constantly rereading it over and over again. And I remember when I was younger, I didn't really understand it very well, but I knew I felt very drawn to the book. And so I felt like, at a very young age, I was really drawn spiritually to a couple of different things. I remember feeling like that in order for me to be happy, I had to be spiritual. I had to be spiritual in some kind of way. And over the years, my spirituality has helped me a lot. And so I came back to this book, and I read the first couple of pages, and I was caught off guard that I understood it a little bit better than I did the last time I read it. I was like, what? Like, why does this make sense now? And it basically was just talking about initially in the beginning how we have to kind of like understand ourselves a little bit better. I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing, but that it's like almost like you get to know the rhythms of who you are, and you just kind of like over time, like I'll give you an example, like, we ladies, we have a period, and like it's true though, we over time we have to understand our rhythms a little bit better. We have to understand what the signs of it are and what the impact of it's going to have on us, and how do we learn to kind of live with this for the rest of our lives, for the most part, right? And so we have to get into the muscle memory of having peri pads. We have to also to know what the pre-signs are, so we can kind of like make sure we have our chocolate supplies or the things that make us feel better. Like we need to have things like pain relief. We need to have also to a little bit more of a healthier understanding of our emotions, and to kind of be kind to ourselves during it, because I was talking to someone about it, and they were saying like, well, sometimes it gets confused for bipolar because it's it, and it's like, but it's not, and we are regularly going through hormonal shifts on a regular basis, and some of us go like it's from woman to woman, it's a little different, but overall, like, our bodies are constantly going through hormonal shifts. I'm sorry, I'm like, why am I so emotional about my period? But it's true. Guys, you really do need to have a better understanding about the period. Like, some guys have no clue, and I think that's very painful for us ladies, because Okay, so like for instance, right now where I'm at, we had a heat wave, and you in life it's so important to understand key things to help manage things and to also to protect yourself. So in heat wave, it's so important to be aware of what the signs of heat stroke are, heat rash, but also it's so important for you to hydrate. It's so important, you know, to understand that you can only be outside for short bursts of time. You have to protect yourself from potentially getting seriously ill. And in the seasons, if you look at the seasons, right, they're fluctuating, they shift, even each season's a little different from year to year. But it's so important for us to have an understanding of the seasons, because you have to, like, when winter comes around, what do you have to do? You have to make sure your tires are not bald so you can stay safe on the road. You have to have winter gear. You need to make sure you have money for heat, things like that. Like, you have to prepare, but you also too have to be like, okay, you know what, this is that time of the year, right? That time of the year where I might be impacted by the weather in some kind of way, because when you are, in terms of experiencing the heat, sometimes we can act really irrational. Our moods will dramatically shift. We might be more aggressive. We may not think so clearly. We may say unkind things to somebody else, and it will have an emotional impact on them. And so if you're not taking good care of yourself during a heat wave, there are consequences to it. And it's so why it's important for us to be aware of who we are and how we respond to things, but also to take care of ourselves so we do not become reactive. Like I'll get in the book, in the very beginning of the book, he was talking about triggers and being aware of our triggers. And so I'll give you a prime example. So I have an issue with crowds. I don't do so well with crowds and noise and sensory things, and I don't do so well being trapped in a car for longer than an hour. And so I wanted to go to the Boston Aquarium. Yay, I did it though, but it was not as fun an experience I had put up in my brain, because I was like, it's gonna be so much fun, so exciting, and there were awesome parts about it, right? I'm actually really proud of myself for doing it. But in the process of going there, we were in the area and then we got lost, so it added an extra hour. We were trying to find this place, and then it's already hot because we're in a heat wave. We're going through a heat wave, and so I'm like, I get out of the car and I'm like, oh my God, I was about ready to I was like trying to use all my coping skills. I knew what I was supposed to do, in the car. I had my poppets, I had things to help me, but I also had a little boy on the side getting really fussy, so it's really hard to comfort a kid, but I had to try. Knowing you're kind of dysregulated is really difficult. So we get there, right? And at first it's okay, because I went and used the bathroom. I kind of regained my equilibrium. But, and at first it's fun, because we're going up that thing, you get to see the water and everything. But it's really crowded. It's so crowded. And during it, I was kind of like really having a tough time. I was getting kind of like, there was like my triggers were being hit. And there was this one point where you can't take the stroller in the stairs, so you have to wait for an elevator. I was getting kind of a little, like, I don't know how to describe it, but like my words were a little harsher, and I was getting close to have a freaking meltdown. So things worked out. We got into the elevator, we went up, we finally got to the top. My partner separated with my boy to kind of have space away from me, because I think he sensed it, like I needed to kind of like regain my equilibrium. And so we had to take a trip back out from that, and it was really tough for me. It was so tough for me because I don't like crowds, and I have a fear of dying in a car. I mean, like, it's why I don't do roller coasters too well, because I have a fear of dying. You know, because if you look at some of those, you know, the roller coasters, they're designed to scare you, and so some of the roller coasters look like they could fall apart at any given moment, and it's so hard to judge what is really safe on a roller coaster and what's not. So that kind of weird gray area really freaks me out, and I decided I wanted to be brave and go on a roller coaster that seemed like, you know, because I was like, in my brain, I'm like, I'm evaluating the odds of me dying on this roller coaster. I think, oh, that's fine. And I freaked the freak out because the roller coaster going side to side. And I had a freak out on a roller coaster. So my triggers are legit, right? But it's so important we understand ourselves to be like, kind of go like, I'm like this because of this. I need to have coping skills to kind of manage this situation, you know, because, you know, if you kind of like allow yourself like, oh, I'm just gonna go and out there at the heat wave, like I'm gonna be fine, there's nothing bad's gonna happen, man, and you get, you know, you can get sick from the heat. Heat can really addle your brain. You could get faint. You could literally, like, they say like 128 people die a year from heat-related causes, which is more than the average from flooding and other natural situations. It's just wild to me. Like, wait, what? Like, because we have a lot of natural disasters, right? So we tend to kind of underestimate how the world around us impacts us, how even like our own responsibility, we kind of like don't take it seriously enough that we have a responsibility in our lives to learn these coping skills. You know, like, you know, you can't really, you like, I know, like, we live in society where it's like, oh, just take a pill, right? And that is important, don't get me wrong, but then we underestimate the fact that we need foundational skills to manage situations, ourselves and other people, because if you kind of go out in the heat, right, and you're like, well, I'll be okay, you're not drinking water, you're not staying in cool environments or in shade, and you get sick, you can go to the hospital, man. You can die from that stuff. And you know, like, yeah, I mean, I have my period, right? But like, you know, more often than not, I'm not gonna get a pass for having a period. So I gotta make sure I have my period pads. I gotta make sure that I feel okay, that I'm eating meat so I can get my iron in me. I have to also to make sure I have pain relief or skills to manage that pain relief. So that means I have to kind of like, you know, I count sometimes when I'm really struggling, you know, and I know that sounds crazy, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but it gives you something to focus on. I have my mantras. I will do this, like I'll like, because when I don't have my beads, I can't have my prayer beads, my prayer beads at work. It's just not, like, I work with kids, so I can't do that. So I kind of pretend I have my prayer beads by touching my fingers and just feeling the beads pass through, and like, okay, it's okay, like, I can get through this pain. this pain of being a human being. And I'm not saying you're not going to F up. I'm not saying, like, I don't F up. Anyone out there that says, I'm a perfect angel at any given point, it's just like, we're just trying to do the best we can in this world. And it's wild, it's crazy that, this is the tough part, is often we have to learn the skills on the go. We're not really taught it sometimes. Not all of us. I had to learn this all by myself. I did. And I got better at it. Like, I was a hot mess at one point. I was such a hot mess. And for the most part, I'm a very functional ADHD, neurodivergent, sensory person type who does a little bit better. I'm not saying like I got my shit together, but I'm saying I do have my shit a lot more together than my 20s. Like, oh, thank God. Like, I can handle a lot more. But like, and this is the thing, is that oftentimes we don't recognize or underestimate how long it takes to develop the skills. And because, like, you ride a bike, you know how to ride the bike right away. This is why you need to learn really young, at a young age, how to swim. You need to learn at a young age how to ride a bike, at a young age, because it takes a lot of practice. It can take a decade to you be kind of looking around going like, oh my God, I handle things so much better. Like, I don't do this, I don't do that. And there are going to be people who are going to remember, or they're going to like think that you've not grown. And that's going to be another trigger too, is when people think that you are the same old you. And that's going to be a trigger too, because when you get emotionally more and more mature, you're going to recognize that people's memories are a little weird. So you also too have to develop a higher level of tolerance for forgetfulness, like short-term forgetfulness. But to get back to understanding ourselves, it's like there's so much we don't know about the ocean. There's so much we don't know about the ocean. I think we know a lot about all kinds of different things, but don't treat yourself like the ocean, or if you want to be, you like to treat yourself like the ocean. Okay, well then go and be a deep diver. Don't take for granted that there isn't going to be a shark out there gonna go. You have fears of sharks, I'm sorry, because I do too, which is really irrational. Like in a pool, like, oh, there's a shark. No, there's no shark in the pool, man. Like, there's oh my God. But I can go in water a little bit easier now, but like, don't treat yourself, like, don't allow yourself to be this unknown individual, because if you don't know yourself, then how do I phrase this in the best possible light? If you don't care enough to know about you, don't expect other people to do the same. Don't expect people to, because there are going to be times where even when you do care about yourself and you're putting in the effort, they're not going to put the same effort in. But at the same time, your life isn't going to shift or improve if you're not willing to do the time and the effort. You really, like I'll give you an example. Like, I'm still working on a lot of different things. I got my goals. I have other goals. I have, like, I know where I like, but I remember when I was going for my LMHC and how unhappy I was, and I had to make a dramatic shift to experience joy and inner peace. And I ran into some interesting job situations on the journey, and if I had just like, well, I'm just gonna stay here in these toxic situations, I would continue being so unhappy. And it was like one situation where I was told like, no, you should stay here, and I was like, no, something doesn't feel right. I know myself enough to know that this isn't a good environment for me, that I felt like I was just gonna like become a robot and die away. And I listened to that insight about who I was, that, like, oh, like, if I stay here, there's gonna be part of me that is going to die and wither away, and I'm going to forget who I am, and I'm just going to be automated, and it's going to impact my life as a mom. And so I took with that, I made forward motion to go somewhere else. And I'm a lot happier where I'm currently at because I knew myself. So you have to, if your life isn't good right now, know yourself a lot more. Like don't let yourself be a stranger, guys. And that's where I'm gonna leave you off. I appreciate you doing a like, comment, subscribe. I'm not an LMC, I'm not a doctor. Financial, legal advice, all choices your own. Treat it like an alternate perspective, opinion based only, because ultimately, like, I don't know who you are. You need to know who you are and what's best for yourself. You have this beautiful thing called free will, and if you don't use it, you lose it. That's what they say in psychology in some circles, especially when neurons are connected. But yeah, overall this channel is going to be a little bit more free flowing. I'm going to have more mediums to work with because I'm not the Messy Human Tarot anymore. I will be using the tarot, but I'm not going to do it all the time. Sometimes I'm going to use Buddhism, Christianity. Sometimes I'm going to be talking about Loki and all these beings from other pantheons, like Hera. Like, I have a great relationship with Hera. Like, I think she's the bomb, man, even though she puts you through your trials. This is an example of stuff that now I'm going to open myself up to discussing, because now as Tenebrous Gate, I'm going to go through that portal, man. I'm going to go through that portal. Some reason I want to say 10-10. Oh, right, because I'm 10. Yeah. I just did that to lose back.